Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily spiritual podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator of the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. Welcome. It's episode 1430, 1430. Sitting here with Miss Mara, spinning the dials. We got some live action with Catherine A. and Bhakta Udi here cheering us on. Good morning, Special K, Kaustubha Das.
Good morning, Raghu.
Welcome to today's study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is Tuesday. We used to call it Arranged Marriage Tuesday. Remember that?
Yeah.
Well, we never made an app. People still ask, are you ever going to make that app, or is it a joke?
That could be part of our Sage Care initiative. You know.
Sage Care.
Sage Engage.
Sage Engage.
Well, that's the other idea. That's the other type of Sage Engage. Yes.
This is the real Sage Engage.
Yeah.
People need it. You know what I mean? People would pay actually top dollar for it.
It is needed. It's difficult if you start to get involved in Bhakti. Maybe you're even in a place where there's hardly anybody into it, and try to find somebody nice that's into the same thing, same interests, same values.
Yeah.
We have to help.
Just get lucky.
We have to help.
Got lucky.
What's going on? What are you two? You could tell me.
I'm just saying I got lucky, but I found Mara.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Alrighty. Miss Mare, you got some announcements for us. What's the latest?
Yes. If Wisdom of the Sages has been helpful in your life and you'd like to contribute to our work, log on to wisdomofthesages.com and become a supporting member of our Sage community platform.
Support us.
For a modest minimum $5 monthly contribution, you get access to a wide range of live and archived classes, community chat, merch, retreat registrations, and much, much more. Log on to wisdomofthesages.com and join us today.
Right.
It's that time of year to buy Wisdom of the Sages merch for your loved ones. It's the holiday season.
We're gonna
the holiday.
I thought Merritt does the announcements.
I know, but I just wanted to run with
that.
that.
Huh?
I wanted to run with it. I said
it's not even the holiday season, not even close to the holiday season.
You know what? It is the holiday season, Kaustubha. You got to start hanging out in malls more. It's the holiday season. People are geared up. It's Black Friday. It's just around the corner. You need to get your Wisdom of Sages merch and get Punk to Monk. Give it to a friend. You already have. If you don't already have it, I don't even know what to say anymore. But if you don't have it, you got to double it. You got to quadruple it. You got to triple it. You got to get it for friends. One-stop shopping with Punk to Monk. You get them all a book. I think you're gonna love this. That's what I'm getting. Every sibling, every nephew, every niece, they're all getting.
Please finish up. Please finish
they're all getting Punk to Monk.
Thank you. Let's move on to the nugget. You like the nugget?
That was a nugget of sorts.
But
you got to learn to
nugget.
Appreciate the nugget, Kaustubha. Appreciate everything. If you have the right ears on, everything's a nugget.
Okay. Why don't we try this next one then and see if this one works?
It's going to be a nugget because my ears are on today.
All right.
Okay. This is from your favorite Christian and mine,
right.
C.S. Lewis.
St. Francis? Oh.
C.S. Lewis.
Here's
what he says.
Christian, I suppose.
When did he die?
Oh, it was 60s maybe or something like that.
I got a feeling.
Want to work on that, Mara?
I got a feeling he would have liked me, and I would have liked him.
1963. You're good, Kaustubha.
There we go.
Good. All right, here's what he said. To love at all is to be vulnerable.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's true. Love anything, and your heart will be wrung and possibly broken.
Ouch.
If you want to make sure of keeping it intact, you must give it to no one, not even an animal. Wrap it up carefully round with hobbies and little luxuries. Avoid all entanglements. Lock it up safe in the casket or coffin of your selfishness.
Ooh.
But in that casket, safe, dark, motionless, airless, it will change. It will not be broken. It will become unbreakable, impenetrable, irredeemable. To love is to be vulnerable.
Wow.
If you haven't got my new
What excuse?
right after the nugget, see, Mara puts the nugget right on this standard piece of paper, and on that standard note is a pitch for my book. If you haven't got my book, check it out. Okay, that is a great nugget, isn't it?
Why do you say that?
Well, I went through this phase myself. You know, when I first got married, my
You
wife had
hardened
2 little
yourself?
kids. Huh?
You hardened your the vulnerable, or you went through
The
vulnerable?
vulnerability, you know, because when I first got married, my wife had 2 little boys, and I really always wanted to be a father, and I immediately got
That's
attracted
something
to.
that you thought about, like even when you're young and all that?
Oh yeah, I always wanted to be a dad,
Okay.
and and she had 2 little boys, and I was excited, but at the same time, you know, I was thinking, well, if anything happens to her, the father could just take these kids, and I could never see them again. And I was thinking, am I supposed to like love, and in return they may not just love back? Like I might just get that love taken away from me. And it was this delicate balance of loving and having to be also detached. And I think for me as a parent, that has been like my lifelong message. And what that's sort of been, you know how the universe is trying to teach you a lesson? That's been sort of my lesson. It's like, how can you love in a
And be
clean way,
detached.
in a pure way, where you're not doing it because you're so damn needy that you need this love back, but you're here to have a child or have a dependent or have a lover that you can just love, and not be so uh vacant that you're trying to suck the love out of everybody. Love doesn't have to be this uh transactional necessarily. You have to learn to be solid in your love of God, and then learn just to love whoever comes into your life.
Hmm.
And then you know, sometimes you have a particular family, and sometimes families shift, and other people enter your life, and they become part of your family. Catherine A. and Bhakti are part of my family now. They're just sitting here. We eat bread together. You know, we sing together. We do our morning worship together. And families shift around. And you get certain elders in your life that are like parents. You get certain dependents in your life that are like kids. You get friends in your life, and families shift. And there has to be a love without with a little detachment. Doesn't mean we won't get our hearts broken. That happens because we're not robots. We're emotionally invested. But I have found that to the degree that I can love in a clean way, you're really wishing people well, whether they're living or dead, or even if they sort of turn on you or betray you in the way. You, in your heart of hearts, you wish everybody well.
Hmm.
That's been my lifelong lesson, Kostuba.
Thank you, Roghunath.
Hmm.
Now to
Anything
just
on your
wrap it up.
side? Yeah.
You shared your lifelong message.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
We cut it
That's
out
my
now.
message today. Love, yet be a little detached.
I was thinking a couple things I wanted to share about this. First of all, this theology that comes with Krishna Bhakti
Hmm.
is absolutely fascinating. They say the sages, they meditate on this quality in Krishna. Like if we're gonna, and I believe practically all, theologies, they define God as being all powerful. So you have an all powerful God, but if God wants to experience, enjoy, engage in love, then according to C.S. Lewis, then God has to become vulnerable, which seems to be now a total contradiction, right? How can you be all powerful and in any way vulnerable?
You're taking this in another direction, aren't you? Okay, interesting.
All right. So now you have this all-powerful Krishna, this being that the only interest of Krishna is love. Creation, destruction, judgment, all the other godly things that people think about when they think of God, all of that is what do they call it again when you outsourced?
Outsourced.
It's all outsourced, right? And he is simply interested in adventures of love, which he dives into, and even his own, he engages his own potency called yoga maya, which is like this divine sort of illusion. And he allows himself to be overpowered by his own divine power of illusion so that he can fully enter into the play, the lila. Because he's only interested in love, and for him to experience that love fully, he has to forget his own all-powerful, his all-powerful nature. He has to become vulnerable. And then you read about just how vulnerable he comes, right? Like, you know, I was asked to speak at the Bhakti Center. We'll put this up on the Sage community platform. I spoke there on Janmashtami night, Krishna's birthday night, right?
Oh, you did? I didn't know that. Did I know that?
Yeah, it was short. It was brief. It was like about a half-hour talk.
15-minute sessions.
I was asked to speak 20 minutes, but I went a half.
You went over. You went over.
I didn't mean to.
I know you.
Didn't mean to.
You're like, this is nonsense. I'm going over. I'm the senior educator here.
That's right.
Speak for 30 minutes if I want to.
So, but I was reading verses from the 10th canto Bhagavatam that's describing Krishna and Balaram, right? Krishna and his brother. They're babies. And, you know, they live in this cowherd community. There's like mud all over the place and everything. They're little babies and they're crawling in the mud. And their mothers, they wear these ankle bells. And so when you're down there in the mud, you know, all you're seeing is like the ankles, right? And they know their mother that by the ankle bells. And then some other elderly gopi ladies with ankle bells are like walking in there. And they're like, oh, it's our mother. And they go crawling up to this woman they think is their mother, and then they look and they say, oh, it's not our mother. And they're shocked and they're afraid, and they turn around and then they go crawling back to their real mother. And their mothers are watching this, and they're just captivated by the sweetness and the beauty of this. And their hearts melt with love, just witnessing this. And then and their hearts being melted, Krishna's looking into their faces, into their eyes, and seeing their love for him, and his heart is melting. You know, but that is that all-powerful being that creates the universe, you know, effortlessly, you know, practically in a dream state, right? That's like, what to speak of lifting Govardhan Hill is supporting all the planets in the universe, is supporting unlimited universes, you know, without even trying, you know, whose lifespan is like we can't calculate. You know, it's like you know, universal life cycles are going on just in his breath. You know, that's that little boy in the mud, you know, so vulnerable, and you know, so much of the esoteric part of this theology is like Krishna trying to win over the heart of Radha. She's become upset with him. He's crying tears, you know, doing all that he can to win her love back. This is the God that we're being asked to take shelter of, right? We're talking a lot about taking shelter. Gajendra is surrendering, taking shelter, right? He's realized I'm not all powerful. I'm vulnerable. I didn't know I was vulnerable. Now I know I'm vulnerable.
I forgot how vulnerable I was.
You know, I saw this thing just the other day, Raghunath. Little Instagram reel came
Caught you scrolling.
reeling down my algorithm. Right?
rolling. Kastuba's algorithm. What was that? What must that be like?
Well, this one was it was like a little home video reel, and it showed you could hear the mother. She was the one that was filming it with her phone, apparently. But you couldn't see the mother. But it was a young father. He was probably 30 years old or something like that. And a little baby daughter. She's maybe like 1 year old. And the daughter's very adorable.
Sure.
And I think I don't know if this was her very first words, but it was like among her first words that she's ever spoken. You could tell by the reaction, you know.
Yeah.
But the little baby's looking right into the camera. And she's speaking to the mother, but it's all gibberish. You know, she's like saying,
Right.
like that, right? And the mother's answering back in the same kind of gibberish, and they're going back and forth like that, right?
Yeah.
And the father's just kind of lying there in the bed. He's like got no shirt on. He's just kind of laid back, and he's just enjoying just how sweet the daughter is, right? Both parents are. And then the father sneezes kind of loud, and the little girl looks at him and says, "Bless you." Right,
Oh.
and it was look, we're gonna have hearts melting over there. But you know, it's you can tell it's like the first thing she's ever said or something like that. And both the father and the mother just become so excited. Oh, look, she spoke the right thing at the right time. You know, and
Right.
they were just in ecstasy, and the father embraced. You know, it was like a loud kind of ecstasy, like they were just so happy.
Yeah.
And the father embraces the daughter, and you know, and the daughter is just like, you could just see she was in total, you could just see right in her face, she was just in full ecstasy, right? And she's being embraced by her father, and he's pulling her in, and you can see, even though she's getting wrapped up in that embrace, you can see her face.
Hmm.
And the moment was, it was obviously like a very sweet moment, but you could see for her, she just, the love of her parents is all she knows,
Mm.
and it's all she wants. And in her little heart, there's no need to not be vulnerable,
Right.
because she's got the perfect shelter.
Right.
And in that perfect shelter, without any facade of I'm powerful, I don't need you, I'm independent. No, there's none of that, right?
It's pure dependence
It's
and
just
pure
pure
love.
dependence and pure love. Yeah, she takes shelter,
Mm.
and she's going to receive nothing but shelter and love in that state. And so we've built so many egoistic walls to receiving divine love, right?
Right.
It's like impenetrable walls. And that's what's when I hear C.S. Lewis saying, you don't have to be vulnerable. But you know, you can take your heart, you can lock it up in the casket or coffin of your selfishness.
Mm.
I'm powerful, I'm strong, I'm independent, you know, I don't need a God. I don't need some God that's, you know, all more powerful than me. There is no one more powerful than me,
Mm.
right? Um, you can lock it up in that casket, and it's just going to get harder and harder and harder. And so the materialist can see that way. We would also say respectfully that the impersonalist, it's a very similar idea. A lot of times when you hear like these big impersonalist gurus speak, they're talking about the glory of the Atma, right? But
Mm.
they're speaking about it as it, you know, it's impenetrable, it's everlasting, it's this, it's that. But it's kind of like they're saying you are that, you know, tatvamasi, I
I
am
am
that.
that. I
Yeah,
am that.
I
Because
am that all powerful energy. You are, but you're not. You know,
I am,
you,
but I am.
you are in one sense, but you're one with and different from. You know,
Mhm.
that's
That's
the
the
nuance.
caveat.
Yeah, that's the nuance of the Bhakti philosophy, as it looks at the same Upanishads, and finds verses that also say Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam, that amongst the many conscious, amongst those, what is the Atma? It's eternal and it's conscious. Okay, but amongst the eternal conscious sparks, Atma sparks, they're all dependent on one eternal conscious fire. You know,
Mm.
they're all dependent on that one. But it's not, you could call it a weakness. You could call that we are not that one from that everything else is dependent on. We could look at it as a weakness, feel vulnerability, and resist it.
Mhm.
But surrender means you give up your resistance. You recognize the truth. Look how vulnerable I am. One little germ, one little accident, you know, I experience extreme pain and suffering. I am vulnerable. But that vulnerability, it doesn't have, we have to not see it as our weakness. See it as our natures, that we have that shelter. The little girl is not at all concerned, I'm weak and it's a problem.
Mm.
She's just experiencing love, and it's right there for us. We lose our vulnerability when we actually take that shelter. It's in this world that's padam padam yad vipadam, you know, that there's danger of suffering at every step. But our minds are really conditioned, you know, with these ideas. I'm powerful. I'm strong. I don't need anyone. I'm independent. It's a blocker.
Good insight there, Mr. K.
It's a blocker.
Yeah, it's a blocker. The blocker of love.
Yeah.
Watch out for the blockers of love.
Oh, the blockers of love.
You know what I would have
Blockers of
loved,
love.
Mara? I would have loved to have been the dad of little baby Kastuba.
Oh.
You know, little toddler Kastuba. Come here, you
Bro,
little
that's
cutie.
that's a little weird. That's a little weird.
Come on, tickle ya.
At least you didn't say mother. Okay.
Tickle ya. Come on, let's go. Put him on my knee.
All right, little Baba Ganoush.
Maybe next life you're gonna be my son.
Okay.
Put him in the car seat. He hates going in the car seat.
He's throwing up again. He's throwing up all over me.
All right, let's dive into this. This is exciting.
All right.
Baby Kastuba. Kastuba Lal. Should I just call you Kastuba Lal today?
Kastuba Lal.
Little Kastuba. La la.
Yeah, now we have the apparently big, powerful elephant. No, he's vulnerable. And he's admitting it, and he's recognizing it, and it's opening up the door, right? It's opening up the door to eternity. It's opening up the door to divine love. It's opening up the door to everything, recognizing his own vulnerability.
Okay. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam madhirayat. Before reciting the Srimad-Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshu badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhakti bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in classes of the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Agyana Timarandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmaditam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Reading from the Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 3, Text 2. The story of Gajendra. Gajendra offers prayers.
He fixed his mind and his heart with perfect intelligence, and then he chanted this mantra. It all came back to him.
He was big. He was powerful. He was top of the game, top of the pile. And he realized actually he was vulnerable. We're all a little vulnerable in this world.
You know what I think? You know these MMA fighters, right? Amongst them, like some of them are really obnoxious, right?
Like the Conor McGregors.
There's him. There's another guy out there. I don't remember his name, but he's like super, just really obnoxious. You know who I'm talking about?
Well, there's Gordon Ryan. He's the obnoxious one of the jiu-jitsu world.
That's not who I'm thinking.
He's so obnoxious, but he's so good.
There's this guy. He's an American guy. I forget.
I'm not so sure, but I will say they all go down. Eventually, all you got to do is be in that game for a while. You realize they're all gonna get
that whole ego, that whole facade. It's ultimately a facade. And it's gonna get revealed. Sean Strickland. That's it. Joey got it. Sean Strickland.
Yeah, they go down and it's humiliating, and then they backtrack. Oh, well, I didn't mean that. I was putting on a show.
And it's but it's not only just going down to another. Okay, there's one other guy that can beat me or something like that. There's that, which is a crushing thing for the ego. But there's also just realizing that you are actually just as vulnerable as anybody else,
except Gordon Ryan.
That guy just nobody
can beat Gordon Ryan.
No. Time will get him. Ragnar. Time will get him. And even those people that were great boxers, some of them aren't obnoxious. Some of them are like humble.
They were always humble. Like, I did this for God. Thank you.
Yeah, those are the ones that they recognize their own vulnerability. They're actually situated in truth. They're going to be much happier.
Those people become devastated. Those
ones
people
that aren't
who are living in that false ego become devastated. What we're recommending here is how to have a happier life.
Even right here in this world.
Right in this world. You don't believe in God? Fine, we're good with that. Here, listen to the formula of a happier life. We are dependent. We are vulnerable. We get given some gifts. They get taken away in due course.
You get a little opulence, then you lose it. Someone always has more.
There's another change of seasons happening. You're in the winter time of life. You're in the springtime of life. You're in the summertime of life, and back to autumn, constantly in flux.
Yeah.
We're pure spirit souls. That's our real identity. You own nothing.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's fine. Even God wants to take that position. Why? So he can experience love. Right? So just think of it that way. There should be no psychological hang-ups, issues. No,
Right,
I'm
here's
taking
what
shelter of that little sweet little baby who's crawling around the mud.
I'm going to bring you into some avraṇaṁ Bhakti meditation here, Kostuba.
Whoa.
You picture a pristine, crystal clear lake with lotuses growing, beautiful tropical scenery environment.
Okay.
A gigantic elephant who's halfway in the water with a clamp crocodile, and you are a little rabbit just witnessing all this. And now this
little rabbit.
massive elephant
Yeah.
is going into prayers.
Always going to prayer.
And you're watching this. Ready? Here's
That
what
must
he
have been
says.
fascinating.
I know. Go, you go there now.
Okay,
you go
I'm
there now. You can experience it. You too, Mara.
Go there now.
Go there, Mara. See the elephant. Smell the elephant.
Okay.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Person. This is an elephant talking.
Where are you?
Text 2.
Okay, the king of the elephants, Gajendra said.
Yeah. So this is the elephant speaking, and you're listening with your little rabbit ears.
Is he speaking English? Is he speaking out of his mouth? Is he just praying in his heart?
I'm speaking in with an English accent, with a slightly Scottish elephant. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Because of him, he continues, because of him, this material body acts due to the presence of spirit. And he, therefore, is the root cause of everyone.
Oh, yeah.
He is worshipable for such exalted persons as Brahma and Shiva. And he has entered the heart of every living being. Let me meditate upon him. The Supreme Godhead is the...
Whoa.
Oh, whoa!
Whoa.
Come on, rabbit. What?
There's a lot there in that verse. You know, you were talking the other day about how, like a cultured person, when they're addressing someone, how they share some appreciation first, or
Sure, before you start asking for stuff.
yeah, Gajendra. Yeah, you know, Gajendra never says, "Can you get this thing off my leg?" He actually never says that.
He never says that. Interesting, huh? Because
Yeah.
generally you're thinking if a person's in danger, they're like, oh my God, help me. That's how people pray, usually. God, help me. God, give me. God, hook this up.
He doesn't go there, but he starts with, one, he's appreciating, he's glorifying. But two, within that glorification, there's also a recognition of who you are and who I am, right? Like, in order to have bhakti, in order for bhakti to grow in us, in order for divine love for that supreme person to develop in the heart, there has to be clarity about who that person is and who we are and the nature of the relationship. They call that sambandha jnana, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need to understand, like, if a child tries to take the parental role with a parent, it just doesn't work. You know, that's not the rasa. That's not. Sometimes the parents have to say, "Excuse me, reality check."
Right. Yeah,
that's not the way.
Who you think you're talking to?
Yeah. So Gajendra saying, "I know who I'm talking to. You're the Purusha." He says, "Purushaya."
Mm.
You're a person. One, you're the supreme, but you're a person. And Purusha, you know, it's a term in Sanskrit that's just loaded with meaning. Like, Purusha, it means man. It means man, you know, it relates to mankind. It means person. It means enjoyer. But especially, you know, like in this context, you know, coming from, like, the Rig Veda has the Purusha Shukta, right?
Mm.
The Purusha Shukta is like these prayers, like the most ancient prayers that exist, you know.
They say the demigods are praying to Lord Vishnu.
Chanting the Purusha Shukta. It's saying you, like in this world, in our time, we say, you're the man, right? You're the man.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
not just a man,
I
but
always
the
say
man.
that.
Yeah.
You're the man.
So it's kind of like, you are the Purusha, you are the man, but like, you are that primeval, personal, animating principle. Purusha also means spirit, like the soul is also called Purusha. So it means you are that original soul, that original animating principle. It's you that animates the universe. It's you that gives life to everything. You are the original person. You are the origin of mankind. So the Purusha Sukta is like glorifying Lord Vishnu as that being. And he's kind of, by saying Purusha, you know, another term, Purusha Abhiman. You're familiar with that term?
Tell me.
Purusha Abhiman. Abhiman means like our mentality. Man means the mind. Abhiman.
Oh.
Purusha Abhiman means
Shabhiman means the enjoying mentality.
I have the enjoying mentality, or sometimes it's also like refers to the male ego, right? Like in other words, in order to enter into the Rasa Lila, you know, you can't enter it with Purusha Abhiman, with the mind of, you know, with that
material
male ego.
Sure.
So but here he's saying, you know, he's kind of, sometimes we talk about Bhakti as like God being the one male and we're all female. And by saying you are the Purusha, not me, it's kind of like he's kind of entering into that way of thinking, you know. So he says you're Purusha. He says you're Adi Bijaya. Adi Bija. What does that mean, Raghu?
The original seed.
The original seed, right? You're the origin of everything. Everything that exists in this universe is inside you and then manifest outside you, right? You are the seed of everything. You're the origin of it. And you're the Para Ishaya. Para Ishvara, you could say.
Para Ishvara.
You're not just the controller. You are the controller of the controllers. You're the highest controller. Even the demigods are controlled by you. So this is somebody again. I recognize who you are. I'm vulnerable. You're not vulnerable, right? You're on this other level. All right.
Ready?
Yeah.
Back to rabbit. Back to your rabbit identity. Listening. Listen.
Big ears.
Yeah. Put your big ears up and listen.
Okay.
The Supreme Godhead is the supreme platform on which everything rests, the ingredient by which everything has been produced, and the person who is created and is the only cause of this cosmic manifestation.
Right.
Nonetheless, he's different from the cause and the result. I surrender unto him, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is self-sufficient in everything.
Yeah. In Vedanta, a lot of times they use this example of like there's a potter and there's the clay or the earth, and then there's the pot, right? So Prabhupada talks about that in the commentary. He says, the place where the earth and pot rest is the earth. But even like, I think even figuratively, it's saying like the pot rests in the earth because it's made of the earth, right? It has no foundation. It has no existence without the earth. So the pot is made of earth. And the pot is manufactured by a potter whose body is also a product of the earth. The potter's wheel with which the pot is made is also an expansion of the earth. So everything is made of the same ingredient. And the ingredients from which the pot are made is also earth. And then they all merge back into the earth eventually. They rise out of the earth and they merge back into the earth.
So we are nothing. We are...
Well, no, but we are made of the energy of God. God would be the earth in this analogy. And so we in our world just all grows out of him and then all goes back into him. It grows out of him and goes back into him. And a lot of what Gajendra is sharing right now is it's everything in this world is you, and at the same time you're outside of it, untouched by it, aloof to it, like not, in a sense, not vulnerable to it in the ways that we are.
Okay, continuing on.
Text 4.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, by expanding his own energy, keeps this cosmic manifestation visible, and again, renders it invisible. He is both the supreme cause and the supreme result, the observer and the witness in all circumstances. Thus, he is transcendental to everything. May that Supreme Personality of Godhead give me protection.
Yeah. The universes go through cycles. You know, the universes come out of his body like little bubbles. They go through some incredibly long lifespan with cycles of creation and destruction, and then they enter back. Then they're ultimately on a higher level of cosmic destruction. They enter back into his body. Then they're invisible. Then he breathes out, they become visible again. At the same time, he's in it, it's all made of him, and he's beyond it.
In due course of time, when all the causative and effective manifestations of the universe, including the planets and their directors and maintainers, are annihilated, there is a situation of dense darkness.
And the universe
Above
is
this
reigning.
darkness, however, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I take shelter of his lotus feet. All these prayers are flowing out of the mouth of the elephant while he's getting attacked by this crocodile.
Yeah,
And you're just listening on, listening.
as a rabbit.
An artist, in due course of, text 6. As an artist on stage, being covered by attractive dresses and dancing with different movements is not understood by his audience, right? Like you're watching
Who is that? I
a
thought it was
drama.
Yeah, you forget that there's an actor. The character just kind of he embodies the character fully.
Similarly, the activities and features of the supreme artist cannot be understood even by the demigods or great sages, and certainly not by those who are unintelligent like animals. Neither the demigods and sages nor the unintelligent can understand the features of the Lord, nor can they express in words his actual position. May that Supreme Personality of Godhead give me protection.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing how this is the whole thing, like from the Bible, how Christ is on the cross and he's getting killed, and yet he's praying for the people that are killing him. Here's yet another situation where a person, a being, is in the most horrible situation you can think of. And you hear this all over the Vedic literature. Here's a person, and instead of dropping in to their material consciousness in times of great tragedy, right? Like if some guy was, torturing one of us, we'd be like, we'd fight, we'd scream, we'd plead. We wouldn't like pray, please protect these people. Here he is with this alligator, and now he's just glorifying God. He's just ready to leave his body. He's not even of this world. Of this world means when things get reversed in our life. I have a plan, and then some reversal happens. I want to go to the beach, and it's pouring rain. I went on vacation, and the plane's delayed, and we're going to miss 2 days of the vacation, or the hotel doesn't have my reservation. When things go south in my plans, I get angry, I get resentful, I get bitter, I start to yell, I start to curse, I start to fight. Why me? This is unfair. The intelligence and the mind and the words of great beings, and this elephant in this case is a great being. They go to different places.
But it took him 1,000 years of resistance, right?
Took him some time.
It took him, yeah, it took him,
time,
but then he got there.
Yeah.
The Prabhupada writes here, it says here that he can't be understood. He's praying to Lord Vishnu. He's saying, you can't be understood. Even the demigods can't understand you. Even the great sages. But Prabhupada kind of, he puts his, I don't know if we call it putting a spin on it, but he kind of reveals how we can understand that. He says there are many, many yogis trying to understand him. And then he quotes this. This is from a Bhagavatam verse. Dhyana vashtita tadgatena manasa pasyanti yam yoginaha. Whom the perfected yogis see within their minds after fixing themselves in trance and absorbing themselves within him. This is what these yogis want to see. They want to see him, right? That's where all their interest goes. He says, nonetheless, even great yogis, demigods, saints, and sages have been unable to understand the bodily features of that great artist. Nor could they understand the meaning of his movements, how he incarnates, the forms that he takes, the pastimes that he engages in. He says, what to be said of ordinary speculators like the so-called philosophers of this material world? For them, he is impossible to understand. But how can he be understood? So he says, therefore, we must accept the statements, right? This is Shabda, right? Shruti, just hearing the transcendental sound we can understand through that. Therefore, we must accept the statements given by the Supreme when he kindly incarnates to instruct us. We must simply accept the word of Lord Ramachandra, Lord Krishna, and Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and follow in their footsteps. Then it may be possible for us to know the purpose of their incarnations. Now, this next text, it also has to do with trying to see. Like this idea in text 6, it was introduced like, okay, there are yogis that are trying to see him. What are the qualifications to see what everybody else isn't seeing? What are the qualifications to be able to tap into a truth that's elusive? That what do we have to let go of? What do we have to embrace to see, understand God?
Let's find out. Text 7.
Elephant's going to tell us.
The renunciates and the great sages who see all living beings equally, who are friendly to everyone, and who flawlessly practice in the forest the vows of brahmacharya, vanaprastha, and sannyas, desire to see the all-auspicious lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. May that same Supreme Personality of Godhead be my destination.
Okay. Let's really get into this one, Rogu, okay?
Yeah, let's tear this.
So let's just go word for word. Didrikshava, those who desire to see him, right?
Didrikshava.
And they desire to see Padam, his feet. Sumangalam.
Oh, very auspicious.
All auspicious. So who gets that? Vimukta-saṅgāḥ, persons that are completely, Prabhupada writes it this way, vimukta, mukta means to become free, sangha means one's attachments. Vimukta-saṅgāḥ, like they're really completely free of all attachments, right? Prabhupada writes, persons who are completely disinfected of material conditions. Munayaha, the great sages. Suhṛdaḥ, those who are highly elevated in spiritual consciousness. Charanti, they're practicing. Aloka-vratam, they've taken vows, right? People that, you take a vow, you set intention. I'm not going to allow myself to get sucked into the material energy this way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he says vows of brahmacharya, vanaprastha, or sannyasa. Avraṇaṁ, without any fault. They carry out those vows without any fault, Vane, living in the forest. Bhūta-ātma-bhūtāḥ, those who are equal to all living entities. Suhṛdaḥ, those who are friends to everyone. So these are the people that are going to get this vision, right? That are going to get that. They're going to see Krishna's feet. They're going to see his personal form. Why don't you read the commentary?
7, right? Okay.
No, 7, yeah.
This verse describes the qualifications for devotees or persons highly elevated in spiritual consciousness. Devotees are always equal to everyone, seeing no distinction between lower or higher classes. Pandita sama darshana, right? The pundits see evenly.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Darshana, to see.
Samadarshana.
Sama, evenly, with sameness. They look upon everyone as a spirit soul who is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Thus, they are competent to search for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Understanding that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the friend of everyone, suhṛdaḥ sarvabhūtānaṁ, they act as friends of everyone on behalf of the Supreme Lord, making no distinction between one nation and another, or one community and another. They preach Krishna consciousness, the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, everywhere. Thus, they are competent to see the lotus feet of the Lord. Such preachers in Krishna consciousness are called Paramahamsa, as indicated by the word vimukta-saṅgāḥ. They have nothing to do with the material conditions. One must take shelter of such a devotee in order to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Wow.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah, you can't see unless you hear from someone that's seeing, right? Otherwise, you never see it. But this is, so, I think when we read this commentary, it's like, oh, yeah, I like that, right? I think people will appreciate that. Okay, I get it.
Right.
That when we get really spiritual, we should be, the distinctions of this world, the classes that people fall into, the categories that they fall into, whether it's bodily or based on the nation that one's born in, or the family that one's born in, or the body, the gender, the race, even the species, that one's not making distinctions, one's not judging, one doesn't have biases based on these things. But this goes beyond what I feel is so wonderful about this kind of knowledge is that it's not just if it were just sentimental, it would be weak, right?
Yeah.
If it were just spoken in a sentimental way, it would be nice, but it wouldn't have a strong foundation to rest on. But this knowledge is like, it's like, no, let's understand really why we see things that way. Let's understand what is the body, what is the mind, what is the self, what is karma. When you start to put all these things together, then you can begin to understand, oh, I get it. We're all these little sparks switching seats, left and right. So the seat is really not important, right? Because, I might make a distinction based on nation, but I may have been in that nation in my last life, or I may be in my next. I may make a distinction based on race, same thing. On gender, same thing. On species, same thing. When in the beginning, one is speaking this kind of philosophy, contemplating it, reflecting on it as they go through life, and the mind can become gradually shaped by this kind of contemplation, by this kind of reflection, ultimately by some blessings of great souls, by hearing from great souls, as Prabhupada ended the commentary. And then it's not only just a fascinating theory or part of some philosophy or part of some theology, but it's actually, you begin to see it. You begin to see it everywhere, and it changes the way that you respond, and then you become like one of these great souls that are being spoken about here. This knowledge is not just sweet and sentimental, but it's scientific and logical and practical and all of those things.
Nice. Very nice.
Text 8 and 9.
Yeah. Text 8 and 9. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has no activities, name, form, qualities, or fault. Doesn't mean he doesn't have an appearance, activities, name, form, quality. He's just got no material version of them.
Right.
To fulfill the purpose for which this material world is created and destroyed, he comes in the form of human beings like Ram or Lord Krishna by his original internal potency. He has immense potency, and in various forms, all free from material contamination, he acts wonderfully. He is therefore the supreme Brahman.
Yeah, it actually puts
to him.
It puts two words right next to each other. It says arupya, which means formless.
Formless.
And then it says ururupya, which means the uru kind of like expands something. It makes something is wide. You say uru. It's like, like a prefix, but ururupya means like many forms. He's got unlimited forms, so it's saying that he has no form and he has unlimited forms. How do we understand that? So it means sometimes when we say rupa, we're talking about the material body, right? This equipment that we get in this world to, so when it says he has no eyes, he doesn't have this package of eyes that we get, right? He's got the real stuff like that.
All right, let's see if we can finish this. Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, wait a second. I read that. 10. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the self-effulgent supersoul, who is the witness in everyone's heart, who enlightens the individual soul, and who cannot be reached by exercises of the mind, words, or consciousness. Interesting.
We should. I think we should come back to this one tomorrow. This reminds me of some of that Brahma Samhita. But you're right, Raghunath. Just think about this. He's got that crocodile on his leg,
chewing.
He hasn't even mentioned it.
He hasn't even mentioned. He's completely oblivious to it.
He's just got absorbed in this sound of these ancient prayers. His mind has become deep, become deeply absorbed in him. In one sense, it's almost like he's already transcended it. It feels like that anyway, right?
Yeah. There's these stories of samadhi, of people dying, tragic deaths, but I read that one in my book. You didn't read it, but these people that I knew that the lady got in a car accident, and the EMTs said, yeah, they've never seen anything like it. She was in perfect consciousness, and she took off her oxygen mask and sat up in the ambulance and just said, I'm going to leave my body now.
Whoa.
And just chanted the holy name, and then just left. And it's like when the rest of the world is screaming, the plane's going down. Everyone's in panic. This person, this enlightened being, whether it's Grandfather Bhishma, Gajendra, the girl in the ambulance, there's a focus, a connection, a yoga that's happening, a union that's happening. That's what we talk about when we talk about yoga. We're not talking about a perfect backbend. We're not talking about, an equal mind and body. How do people describe yoga? In so many ways in the yoga community, we want a balance between our mind and our body. No, it's actually deep connection to source. That's the perfection of yoga. Deep connection, deep love for source. Mr. Kastuba?
Thank you, Raghunath.
Well, you're welcome.
I appreciate what you shared.
Good. Okay.
Mariji. Now stay with us, Raghunath. You see, look at you already went over to the board, Mary.
It was funny.
Yeah.
Hey, Krishna, check out my perfect
You already
backbend
went over.
as you're dying.
You stay with us.
Before I die.
Mary, you just save him the chat thing and then just tell him.
I know.
Just a few
the
minutes.
interesting thing is, suppose you just physically can't do yoga. Now you're not qualified to have God consciousness or reach liberation. Makes no sense.
Doesn't make any sense.
That wouldn't be. Why would that would be a disqualification? Come on, people.
There's no material disqualification.
No material disqualification.
All right. You ready for some takeaways?
Yep.
Sorta.
Sort of.
Let's see. See if they're good. Me and my friend want to listen.
Love doesn't have to be transactional.
Love doesn't have to be trans. Oh, see. It could
It
be a one-way
should.
street.
Yeah.
Love is sorry, hold on. Krishna is all powerful and all loving and vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That's
that
my
he does
Lord.
that.
That's my Lord. And he's adorable. And he's naughty.
Break down the ego walls, blocking divine love.
Break down the walls. That's a Grogu thing right there.
I
Yeah,
know.
I knew it from back then. Break down the walls.
Vulnerability is our nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time.
Recognize our vulnerability to be situated in truth.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Understand our relationship to facilitate bhakti.
Oh, that's the Sambandha Gyana we're talking about there.
Like
Yeah.
that. Like that.
Become disinfected of material consciousness.
It's an infection.
It's an infection, isn't it?
The perfection of yoga is deep connection to source.
And Raghunath just said that.
Yeah.
How'd you get it so quick?
Understand we're just little sparks switching seats.
Oh, yeah.
Switching seats on the Titanic. That's what Jiva G said.
That's a good one.
Switching seats.
On the
Good one,
Titanic.
no.
Oh, this will be different. This will be a better situation with him, with her, with this. Now, you're on the Titanic, man. You got to get off. You got to get on the spiritual boat.
Got a spiritual life raft.
Spiritual life raft.
It's all a nugget with the right ears.
Mm-hmm.
And
Rabbit ears.
Rabbit ears.
listen like a little rabbit, Kastubalal.
Come on, Baba Ganoush.
Oh,
Little
listen
Baba
like a
Ganoush.
little rabbit, Kastubalal. How are you today, Kastubalal? Thanks to everybody for joining us. I want to thank of all our Sage community members who support this podcast. Means a lot. $5, $108, whatever you want to give. Give something per month. It helps us keep this thing going. If you're getting something out of this, this is a community-supported podcast. Do what you can. Haven't got Punk to Monk. This is your opportunity. Go to Amazon. Go to Audible. A lot of people have it on Audible. And if you've got it and you haven't written a review for Punk to Monk, go to Amazon, write a review. It makes all the difference, believe it or not. I read them all. I read Gandharvika Giridhari's the other day. That was very nice. Thank you. Getting cool up here, Mr. K.
That's what I hear. Little frost on the pumpkin.
Cooling off. we get a pumpkin, the chickens just eat those pumpkins.
I think the pumpkin is being brought for your chickens by a fire roasting friend.
Oh, really? She's bringing us pumpkins. I'm looking for it. Remember, we have our Bhakti Recovery Day, Friday the 11th, October 11th. Looking forward to that. Hanging out with Miss Jiva G.